All right. Hello. I almost said good morning. It's not the morning for me anymore, but it might be for you. So good morning and good afternoon. I'm Ashley. Hi, Cheryl. I just hit record, so we're going to get into it. We are going through the next chapter in this book, Move Over Extroverts. And today we're talking about conventions. So let me see exactly which chapter name it is. Chapter 19, the dreaded 20,000 person convention conference. So, this is a longer chapter and there's a lot in it. I would love to hear, we'll have time for questions, but first I want to hear from anyone. Which of these things have you tried and had success with? Yeah, Cheryl.
Well, for sure, booking my own room. I learned a couple years ago. I had when we were at one of the the Elevate ones, and I kind of got strong armed to rooming with a gal in my office. And no disrespect to her, she's lovely,
Of course.
but it's just one of those things that when we're in those big conferences, that's where I know I'm a little bit of an introverted extrovert for sure. I just gotta be quiet and still. And it was fine. I mean, it was fine, and we had a good time. But by the end of it, I was even more exhausted. Whereas the last couple of years, I've had my own room, and I can just go back and even before dinners and other things, just have that 45 minutes, hour, whatever of just quiet. It just puts me back. It makes me right again. So that's definitely one that I've learned.
Yeah, I love that. I'm the same way. Sharon.
I agree with that 100%. Every once in a while, somebody will post, saying, I can't find a room. Yeah, anybody got an extra bed, that kind of thing. And I think, I really should do that. And then I think, no, I like my alone time and my space and the ability to just, quiet out. Um, the one that I think was most Okay, so then there's staying at the hotel at or near the convention center. Definitely, I try to always stay at the same locale
Yeah.
as the convention or conference. It just makes things so much easier. Comfy shoes is a no-brainer. But the one that was most interesting to me was having groceries delivered to your hotel room.
Mm.
I never quite went that far actually to have groceries delivered. I do try to go to a local corner store or something and get a couple of gallons of drinking water,
Mhm.
so that I'm not spending a mint on that. But I did have to disagree with you on the room service. I love room service meals myself.
Oh, I do
It
too.
just
They add up.
That's true. I when I was at conferences where an employer was paying, I tried only to do like one fancy room service meal for the whole conference, and none of them ever questioned me on it. Um, but I do enjoy all those little dishes covered with a little plastic, and I just feel like it's a splurge.
It is. And don't get me wrong, I love room service. I do, especially if someone else is paying for it. It's even better. Most of us don't have that anymore because we're all 1099s, but it is definitely a
Exactly.
splurge and very nice. One time, I remember my very first room service experience. I was in Chicago with my dad and my brother, and I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. We got room service, and I thought it was the fanciest thing ever. I got these blueberry pancakes, and it was the Westin. So you have this white, like the Westin Heavenly bed. I don't know if they still have that, but all white sheets, white duvet, everything. I spilled the blueberry pancakes on the bed by mistake. And I remember the blueberry like rolling down the bed, and I was like, oh my God. This is my first time in a hotel that's not a Red Roof Inn, and look what I'm doing. It was so horrible. But yeah, that was my traumatic experience with room service. But Now I love it because I know how to not spill because I'm not 10 years old. Um, yeah. What else?
The thing I'd like to get better about, and I still have not done that to this day, is clearing the schedule when you get home. And it makes perfect sense to give yourself a couple days to work, to catch back up. And usually I'm literally straight back in and getting back in there, and I need to do a better job at that.
What do you think is getting in the way of doing that?
Schedule and me. I mean, I'm such a driver, and it's so bad sometimes that I just need to like sit back and go, okay, clear your schedule at least for the next day. And it's me. It's me. I mean, because my clients don't know if I need to take another day. I live by my schedule, and so I just need to put it another day past.
Yeah. Think of it the same way as what if your flight was delayed and you had to stay another night? Everything would be fine. Everyone would adjust. But this way it's even better because you can plan for it and have your admin staff plan for it. And everyone just knows, no, I'm not coming back to work on the 12th. I'm coming back on the 13th or the 14th. They don't necessarily need to know when you get back into boots on the ground. The other story I wanted to share was my very first conference, like big, huge family reunion conference, was my first year in real estate. I decided to go and just spend the money and go. And somebody in my office wanted to share a room with me, and she was a very high I extrovert personality, just a lot to take. And at this point in my career, in my life, I did not know that I was an introvert. So I had no knowledge, but something told me that I did not want to share a room with this person because I just could tell that our energies were not the same and she would kind of make me crazy. And I love her in small doses. So I couldn't put my finger on why, but I said no. I politely declined to share a room and I felt like such a jerk. Everyone else in the office was sharing rooms, and I was the only one who insisted on having their own room. And I'm like, I felt so weird about it because it didn't seem normal. So part of why I included that was not only that it's helpful advice for most people, but also to kind of normalize that and give permission that it's okay if you can afford it, if the budget allows, it's so worth it. Now, of course, the exception is Keith. If we went together, we'd share a room, and he's the exception because he doesn't drain me for some reason. Awesome. So what challenges do we have with this? Aside from clearing the schedule, that's a big one. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of us do that. We jump right back in because we're like, oh, well, I've already been gone for 4 or 5 days. Yeah, Sharon.
I found when I was reading through this that I was thinking, wow, I wish I'd had this book before the conferences, the similar conferences I went to, which are mostly, well, no, I've been to some pretty big ones, but more recently it's been the family reunion conferences. But there are just some great thoughts here. Because I was the type that, I had fear of missing out, FOMO. And so I would want to attend every session and do the, end of the day socializing stuff and all of that. And so I did run myself ragged, and I often found myself then, needing to keep on top of work. So I would open my laptop and I'd end up going to bed at 2 in the morning, even if I wasn't out dancing till 2 in the morning. So just that whole it's okay, it's okay. And I wrote a note at the end of the chapter saying it's okay not to experience fear of missing out. It's okay to just miss out and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. That's such an important point. It took me years to not feel guilty around skipping things. But that's not the meat of most conferences. It's really not. And you can get a lot of that content online afterwards. It's more the connections, being with people, and that happens usually at night. So I always skip things in the afternoon and go, and or sometimes the morning. I don't know. It depends on what it is. But it's very much prioritizing what are the most important things in each day for me, and how do I reserve enough energy? You guys know, you read the chapter. Yeah, sure.
The other thing I really liked was one-on-one meetings because honestly, that's where, I mean, that's what I love is I really genuinely love people, but I like it on a one-to-one basis. I get overwhelmed when there's a gazillion people and I can do it, but it's not my comfortable, happy space. So I love the one-on-ones and I have been trying to do that when I've been going and I need to do that more.
Yeah. Do you find it pretty easy to set them up in advance? Or do you more set them up when you're there and you see someone, you're like, hey, want to get breakfast tomorrow?
A little bit of both.
Same.
Especially, yeah, a little bit of both. You know, if there's somebody that I don't think I might run into and I really wanted to, because we've, had like a conversation on Facebook or whatever, and we want to get to know each other more, then I'll reach out before. But, sometimes it is just the, hey, what are you doing later? Do you want to just go grab a glass of wine or a coffee?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's the same. It's both. And for that reason, I find that I need to reserve space in my calendar. I need to have white space for myself during conferences to allow time for those more spontaneous meetups. Because sometimes those are the most productive ones and the most fun. You run into somebody that you maybe didn't even know was going to be there, or you forgot about them or something. It's like, okay, well, I need to make sure my schedule isn't jam-packed for 14 hours a day, so I have room to go and do these things. Yeah, great points. I find a lot of this applies to with smaller conferences too, not just the big ones. Any event, I don't know if it's my age or what, but as the years go on, I've become more and more sensitive to crowds and noise. I was at a networking event 2 nights ago and there were probably only 30 people there, but it got so loud because everyone's talking over each other. And even that was just incredibly draining. Yeah, Sharon, what you got?
Well, I was just going to say, yeah, especially the groceries thing with small conferences too.
Yeah,
Having food available in the room is a good hack.
it is. It really is. It's a time saver and an energy saver. And if a conference is something, I've been to a few of them recently where they're smaller and I can drive, like statewide realtor conference or something. I'm driving to that, so I can put stuff in my car ahead of time. Um, the groceries scenario is more under the assumption that you're flying in someplace. But if you're driving, like just pack a cooler and call it a day. Cheryl, you probably have more experience with that because you're right in Vegas, and that's where a lot of conferences happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and what I've tried to do, I mean, for my referral partners that come in is when we're meeting for coffee, like if they've reached out before they're wanting to get together for coffee before the conference starts, is I usually try and bring them a goodie bag of exactly what you're saying, Sharon, water, some granola bars, some munchies, just something, I mean, nothing crazy, but it's just I know I would love that in my room. So it's just become something that I kind of do.
That's so thoughtful. Oh, nice.
Thanks.
It is crazy to look at the difference, especially in Vegas. I find this is true. The difference between the cost of a Fiji water bottle that's sitting in the room versus the one from the CVS in City Center. It's like three times the price. It's great. And it's, of course,
Exactly.
it's not a lot of
Crazy.
money, but I don't know. On
But it
principle, it
is.
makes me crazy.
We just did a staycation and we ran out of water and I had to pay $14 for a bottle of water. It's like, come on,
Mhm.
really?
Crazy. Plus taxes. Love it. Good discussion, you guys. What else? Any questions for me or scenarios where you haven't really been sure what to do? I think a lot of this is pretty straightforward. It just takes practice and giving yourself the permission to do things a little bit differently.
I find if I get in the room early as people are trickling in, it's a little bit easier to start conversations with someone else than to walk into a full room.
Absolutely.
And then
Especially if
sometimes,
they haven't started playing the music yet.
and then there's the opportunity also to introduce someone that I'm talking to someone else who's just walked in the room and ask them, do they know them? And it brings the other person in, the third person in a little easier.
Yeah, for sure. I love that suggestion. Get there early. I like to get a lay of the land if I can. And if you guys are ever speaking at a conference, definitely get there early. I would even go into the room, go scope out the room the day before and get a sense of it. They might make you do that anyway for a sound check, but it's good to like scope it out.
So I'm curious who sits at the back of the room in the corner or who moves up front.
I'm in the back in the corner, or I'm standing in the back. How about the rest of you?
For the quick exit.
Yeah.
I'm a middle room girl.
Hmm.
I'm usually a front girl for a couple reasons. My neck, I've had two neck surgeries, so I just kind of need to be straight on. So I try and get there early so that I'm not doing this a lot. And I'm super duper short, so I can't see if I'm in the back.
That is fair.
What about you, Mark?
Those that sit in the front row are the ones that get engaged with the speaker. If they have if they want to call on somebody, they're going to sometimes pick somebody that's close up front.
True.
Yeah.
I love
I
that's
I
a great
used to like to
question.
I used to like to sit in the back of the room because I wanted to observe everyone else and not have somebody looking at the back of my head.
Yeah. I love hearing how different we all are in this. A lot of times I get asked questions about introverts on the whole, and most of the time it's very hard to answer because we are very nuanced and different, and we have different preferences. Even just here with five of us, we have five different answers. Um, yeah, I like being in the back for observation reasons, and also I don't like people behind me. I don't know why, makes me nervous. So I will always try to position my back to a wall or to a corner for that reason. And even if I'm sitting in the back row and people come and stand behind me and they're standing on the wall, I'll get up and stand on the wall too, because I'm like, I don't want you standing behind me. I think that's just a personal quirk, but it's how I am. So the important thing is to know how you operate and then honor that and make sure if you need to be right in the front, like you're getting there early to get your preferred seat. Same with the back and the corners and the sides and all the exit rows, if you will. Those all fill up.
Yeah, the introverts are in the back corner congregating together.
Yeah. Sharon.
Sure.
How do you take a nap in the middle of a conference like that because I just find the energy I don't know that I would ever be able to go back to my room and actually go to sleep in the middle of the day.
Hmm. So one of my favorite things about hotel rooms across the board is that usually they have blackout curtains. Not always, but they are usually equipped with like pretty decent enough curtains. So that's the first step. Close all the curtains, shut off all the lights, get like change my clothes into something, either pajamas or whatever I'm sleeping in, and do something with my hair so it doesn't get messed up. Um, Sometimes I'll watch a little TV to just kind of chill out. If a Friends rerun is on, that's my preference. And I don't always fall asleep, but I can at least rest my eyes. I can take my glasses off. I can rest my eyeballs. I can rest my brain and rest my body and just lay there in stillness and in the quiet. And that makes a huge difference. Always set an alarm also, just in case you do fall asleep. Yeah, and Cheryl, if that makes you tired and it's not productive, if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. But if you're going to feel refreshed after, then it's a good tool. And maybe play around with the time. I know some people who love a power nap for 20 minutes, and some people like me, I'm a 1 to 2 hour nap girl, and then I'm good. If I tried 20 minutes and my alarm went off, I would feel terrible. Yeah, Mark.
So you said about getting there a little bit earlier before a session starts, the same thing, or seeing the room before the day before
Mm.
is one way to ease into a conference is to go a day ahead to get yourself situated in the room, to get all those essentials out of the way, figure out where the spaces are and how to get there and that sort of thing, so that on the day of, or maybe even the day before, you can begin to meet people at a smaller level. To or as Cheryl says, maybe arrange to have those coffees or those meetings ahead of time and ease into it rather than just to walk into it stone cold.
Oh my God, absolutely. Yes. That's such a good suggestion. If I forgot to put that in the book, it's going to be in the next version because that is so important. Get there early if you can. And you probably will meet people who are also there early. Yeah, Sharon.
I just realized that one of the things I do is I try and most of the time succeed with not flying out or leaving the day the conference ends. Um, like Elevate ends at 5 o'clock. Other conferences, large conferences I've attended, often, end like the middle of the day, um, or early afternoon. And so that's something that I've done a number of times in the past is I don't leave that evening. Keep the hotel room and I leave the next day.
Mhm.
It gives me a lot of mental space, one to kind of assimilate and organize the stuff I've gathered from the conference in the quiet of my hotel room. Maybe make some additional notes or something. But it gives me mental space to chill. It's that mini vacation. It's kind of like for me, it's kind of like that day after, keeping the day after clear. Only I do it the evening after the conference ends and usually into the morning the next day. I don't book myself a 5 a.m. flight either. I give myself time hopefully to sleep in. So that's actually how I've done it in the past. I'm just realizing this.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Anytime the schedule allows, I'll do the same thing. I
I,
also don't want to have to carry my luggage around a convention center. That is my worst nightmare.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
But I'll
just
also usually take myself to dinner that night too as like a reward for getting through the conference.
interesting how we're somewhat different in the sense that I've tried both And I found over time that I need to get out of there and get home.
Mm.
And if I'm going to decompress someplace, it's going to be at home. It's not going to be around another hotel room because I still have the travel aspect to deal with at the further. So it's just dragging things out further. So if I can get, it's like pulling off the Band-Aid. It's like just go ahead and go home and then get in your own bed, just get in your own sink again. And that's when I find I can look at the materials and evaluate them at peace.
Mhm. That's a great perspective. And I thank you for sharing that because I do love how different we all are. I think I'm weird. I like hotels. I like airports. For some reason, I feel like I get a lot better thinking done somewhere other than my home. And I don't know why. But
I can relate to that.
yeah, it's strange. But I know that. And Mark knows that he is better at home and prefers home. And it just, you got to figure out what works for you. That is the message. Figure it out and then do it and protect it. And if anyone tries to give you crap about it, send them my way.
So where are you heading to next out of town?
Where am I headed to out of town? Probably family reunion in Atlanta. I haven't bought my tickets yet, so that's still a little up in the air. And then after that, probably London for Elevate. So nothing for Q4.
You have to come to London.
I'm planning on it. I'm like 90% sure. I'm also trying to line up teaching a class while I'm there. I talked to the OP in Scotland and I'm like, maybe I can come up. We'll see.
So do introverts get together while they're at these conferences?
I
I think we
have
should.
I have played around with hosting introvert meetups. Sometimes they're more successful than others, just kind of depends on how good a job I do marketing it. But yes, we do. All right, we're at 1:30. Thank you all for being here. See you next week. Let me know if you need anything.
Thank you.
Good to see
Thank you very
everybody.
much. Have a great
Thank
week.
you, you too. Bye.